Hi, I'm Catherine. Welcome to my channel Nuts About Names. Today I'm going to be talking about Australian names, which I'm super excited about because I'm super patriotic. I love Aussie music, Aussie humour, the laid-back Aussie lifestyle. So in this video I'm going to talk about names that have some sort of connection to Australia. And some are place names and some are names of historic events or people. Some are obvious, some are a little bit more obscure. They all have some sort of connection to Australia. So you'll learn about Australian names and also a little bit of Australian history too. I'm going to list 11 names for boys and they'll be in alphabetical order. So let's get started. The first boy's name I have is Anzac. Anzac is an acronym and it stands for Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. The name Anzac has a lot of significance for Australians. It's mainly connected to the Anzac landing at Gallipoli in Turkey during World War I on the 25th of April 1915. We celebrate Anzac Day on the 25th of April every year and it's probably Australia's most important national occasion. I went to Gallipoli in early 2012 before all the crowds were there for Anzac Day and it was such a special experience. I get emotional just thinking about it. There were only 3 people on the tour, including myself and my husband and another Australian. And we walked around the cemeteries by the beautiful Aegean Sea, looking at the graves of the soldiers who were killed, and they were so young. Because there were so few people, it was so tranquil and quiet, and it was the complete opposite to what it would have been like during the Gallipoli campaign. So you've seen my reaction here, just talking about it. And this was my reaction at North Beach, where the Anzac commemorations are held in Gallipoli, when someone started playing the last post on the trumpet. Yeah, that's me. You can hear crying in the background. Surprise, surprise. Clearly I love the name Anzac. It has such a special significance in Australia. It stands for mateship and courage. Okay, moving on. The next name I have for you is Banjo. Banjo is a stringed musical instrument. And I chose the name Banjo for Banjo Paterson, who wrote Waltzing Matilda and The Man from Snowy River and Clancy of the Overflow, among many others. Banjo Paterson's real name was actually Andrew Barton Paterson, but his pseudonym when he first began writing was The Banjo, after his favourite horse. Banjo can actually be a unisex name. I've heard it for girls and boys, but I put it on my boys list, and I just think it's a really cool name. The next name I have is Bass. Bass is Old French and it means of humble origin. I chose this name for the English explorer and ship surgeon George Bass. He was actually one of the explorers to first circumnavigate the island of Tasmania in 1798. And the channel of water between Victoria and Tasmania was named Bass Strait after him. He was also one of the first Europeans to describe wombats, which are my favourite Australian animal. I think they're so adorable. I love the name Bass. I think it's really cool, but it could be mispronounced as bass, as in bass guitar. But who would mind someone mispronouncing their name as a cool instrument? Bass. 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 I like it. The next name I have is Bradman. Bradman is English and it means at the wide river. I chose this name for the cricketer Sir Donald Bradman, who is the greatest cricket batsman of all time. A batting average in cricket that is above 50 is considered exceptional, and Sir Donald Bradman's batting average was 99.94. And he's considered to be statistically the greatest sportsman of any sport, which is pretty impressive. The name Bradman to most Aussies would instantly bring Sir Donald Bradman to mind, and it's a cool name choice for Australian parents, especially cricket fans. And it's also just a cool name, Bradman. I like it. The next name I have is Burke. Burke is Old French, and it means from the fortified settlement. I chose this name for the explorer Robert O'Hara Burke. He led an expedition of 19 men with fellow explorer William John Wills in 1860, and they are known in Australia as Burke and Wills. They're sort of the Aussie version of Lewis and Clark. The expedition was from Melbourne to the Gulf of Carpentaria, but unfortunately Burke and Wills died on the return to Melbourne. But they're famous for carving some writing in a tree. It's sort of like the tree on Roanoke Island in North Carolina. The Burke and Wills tree is heritage listed. I like the name Burke, I think it's a cool little name. The next name I have is Endeavour. It is a word name from Middle English and it means to strive. So I guess it could be considered a virtue name. I chose it for Captain Cook's ship the Endeavour that he was captaining when he discovered Australia. So again with the ships. This is another name that I think sounds better with a North American accent with the strong R sound. Endeavour. 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 I think Endeavour's a cool name. You can use Dev as a nickname. The next name I have is Flinders. It's an anglicised version of the Dutch word vlinder, which means butterfly, which is really cute. I chose this name for the English explorer, navigator and cartographer Matthew Flinders, who was the first person to circumnavigate Australia and identify it as a continent in 1801 to 1802. He was also the first person to suggest the name Australia, which is cool. I like that. I love ships, I love maps, I love Australia. There's just so much to love about the name Flinders. I think it's so awesome. You could use the nickname Flynn. Flinders is actually a name that I think sounds better with an Aussie accent. Flinders. 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 The next name I have is Fraser. Fraser is Scottish and French and it means strawberries, which is very cute. I chose Fraser for Fraser Island, which is in my home state of Queensland, and it's the largest sand island in the world. Fraser Island was named for Eliza Fraser, who I mentioned in the girls' names. Fraser Island is where my family holidayed with my mum's brother and his family pretty much every year from when I was 9. It is my holy place and it is so stunning, and I have such amazing memories from our holidays there. And Fraser Island also has some cool feature names like Eli Creek, Lake Mackenzie, and Merino Wreck. And I recommend you Google images of these features to see what they look like, because they're just really beautiful and awesome, and I wish that I was there right now. Okay, the next name I have is Merino. Merino is Spanish and it is an occupational name meaning royal official. I chose this name for the Merino breed of sheep, which is a little random. But wool was an extraordinarily important industry in Australia. It was our main export for many decades. So Australia was said to be riding on the sheep's back. That's how important the wool industry was, that it was the thing that drove our economy. There's an Australian folk song called Click Go the Shears. I was about to sing it, but I won't. It's about sheep shearers. And the Australian merino sheep has some of the finest and softest wool in the world. So merinos are an important part of Australia's history and economic prosperity, and even our cultural identity. So I think merino has a cool significance, and I think it's a cool little name. The next name I have is Ned. Ned is a diminutive of Edward, which is Old English and means wealth protector. I chose this name for Ned Kelly, who is Australia's most famous bushranger, which is an Australian word for outlaw from back in the day. Ned Kelly was the leader of the Kelly Gang, which included his brother Dan and friends Steve Hart and Joe Byrne. He's also famous for the distinctive homemade armour that he wore in the shootout at Glenrowan in 1880. Ned Kelly's pretty infamous and he killed quite a few people, including some policemen, and he was taken to prison and executed. But he's a folk hero equivalent to Australia's Robin Hood, and he stands for resistance to the establishment. I'm a little undecided about the name Ned and its connection to Ned Kelly, him being a criminal and all. But to me, it's really Australian. I think it's cute. It's a cute nickname for Edward. I think it's a cute name. And a side note, if you Google images of Ned Kelly with his fancy hair and beard, that is a look that is currently very trendy in Australia, which I find really odd. The last name I have for boys is Oxley. Oxley is Anglo-Saxon and it means the clearing for oxen. I chose it for the explorer John Oxley, who discovered and named the Brisbane River in 1823, which is how the city of Brisbane got its name. I reckon Oxley is a really cool and strong sounding name. You could use the nickname Ox. Ox is strong, it's a strong animal. It sounds like a strong name. It's got X, which is trendy. I think it's a really cool name and I would love to see it become more popular. I would love to see a little boy named Oxley. I just think it's a really awesome, strong, cool name. So the names again are Anzac, Banjo, Bass, Bradman, Burke, Endeavour, Flinders, Fraser, Merino, Ned, and Oxley. My favourites are Anzac, clearly, and Flinders. Do you reckon I could convince the husband to use Flinders Anzac? Maybe. I also think Bass is so cool, and Oxley is really cool too. Bass and Oxley. Yes. 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 So some more boys' names that I have. Arnhem for Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory. Billy, I love the name Billy, for the billy can that you boil water in over a campfire. Clancy, which is pretty cool, for the poem Clancy of the Overflow by Banjo Patterson. Cook for Captain Cook. Darwin for the capital city of the Northern Territory. Foster for Foster's Beer. Holden for the car manufacturer and brand. Lawson for the poet Henry Lawson. Nullarbor for the Nullarbor Plain in South Australia and Western Australia. Reef for the Great Barrier Reef. And Stirling for the town in South Australia. That's all the boys' names I have for you. I also did a girls' name video, so check that one out. Comment below, tell me names that you liked or didn't like. Suggest any names that I missed, and thanks for watching. See ya. Hi, I've just got one more name really quick. The 12th boy's name I have is Macquarie. Macquarie is Old Gaelic and it means son of noble or proud one. I chose this name for Major General Lachlan Macquarie, who was Scottish, and he was the governor of New South Wales from 1810 to 1821. He's been called the father of Australia. He appointed freed convicts to government positions. He sponsored exploration. He ordered all traffic on New South Wales roads to keep to the left. And he was the first person to officially use the name Australia. There are a squillion things in Australia that are named after him. There's a university, there's a bank, roads, places, lots of things are named after him. I think Macquarie is a really cool name, so I had to add it. I just think it's really cool. I guess you can use Mac as a nickname, so I just wanted to add that one. Macquarie. See ya.